The Bengals added 6 players to their roster in the 2022 NFL Draft. It's time to grade every single pick and see if the Bengals passed the test in our official Cincinnati Bengals Talk report card. Hi again, everybody, and welcome in to Cincinnati Bengals Talk here on YouTube. I'm James Rapien. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and also check out allbengals.com. Because if you haven't, well, we have a ton there. We've had a ton here as far as NFL draft coverage goes, and it's going to continue. We're going to be at Paul Brown Stadium this week and throughout the offseason covering your Cincinnati Bengals. It's literally a one-stop shop here on YouTube for all things Cincinnati Bengals. And there's undrafted free agents that we are going to get to, I promise. And at some point, we're going to talk about the offensive line and the questions I have about that. But this is about grading the Bengals draft and really talking about each player, the good, the bad, and giving them an overall grade. And let's start there. The Bengals were drafting at the end of every round. They had the 31st overall pick. They were guaranteed to miss out on most of the stars of this draft. And yet, you look at who they added. All of these guys are athletic. Yes, even the offensive lineman that you never heard of before Saturday in Volson. And I'll talk about him in just a bit. But I like their class overall. 6 picks, not 8. I think that one thing the Bengals really made clear was the fact that they were willing to move those late picks because they didn't think it was as deep of a draft as some of these other draft classes. And maybe I'm wrong on that, but man, they very rarely, and I've covered the Bengals and paid attention to the Bengals, covered the Bengals for a long time, paid attention to the Bengals for my entire life, essentially. Certainly all of the Duke Tobin era and dating back really to the late 90s. And obviously I've done my history and my reading and all of that stuff. And I think back and I'm like, man, very rarely do they go into a draft and then come out with 25% less picks, selections, because they usually move down and maybe they'll move up, but then they'll move down somewhere else and recoup that value. They did not in this draft. End up with 6 picks. Some are questionable, some are not. We'll dive into each one. I'm going to give them a solid B for this draft, though. I liked it. A B is above average. A B is not only passing. A B is 87, 88% solid B. You take it, you fist pump. 90, 91, 92, that's a B plus. A would be 93 on up. And, I liked a lot of these players that they got, but there are some questions. And so let's start with Dax Hill. And that's what he prefers to be called. Hopefully you checked out my exclusive sit down and chat with him. We actually didn't sit down. You could tell he's very much taller than me and my 5'9" self, but that's okay. Dax Hill's a really nice guy, and he was fun to chat with. And you know this, and I mentioned this. He was one of the dark horses before the draft that I mentioned. I knew he was going to be high on the Bengals board, and he was high on the Bengals board, and he was their highest graded player by far when they were on the clock. And the Bengals deserve a ton of credit for this, right? And this is a big reason why they get the B overall, the above average draft, because to me, they got this elite defensive player in a guy who offered them tremendous value, a top 20 talent in this draft class, maybe top 15, depending on who you ask. But you believe me, Dax Hill is a stud. And so that pick alone, I gave it an A originally on Locked On Bengals. But the more I think about it, this is an A plus. And if you want to throw 4 more A pluses in it, throw 4 more. I love this pick. I think they got a playmaker, a guy that can literally do anything you ask him to. You want him to play outside at corner? I think he could do that even though he hasn't done it. He has experience in the nickel. He has experience at multiple different spots, safety spots where you can move him all around. He is not a one-trick pony, right? And he's a guy that, can do so many things. And he doesn't do them like average. He does them well. He does them at a high level. And that's why I like Dax Hill. That's why I mentioned him. I had an inkling that the Bengals would be really into him if he was available. And they were. And they were ecstatic to get him. I was talking to some people in the building. It was great to be back in the building. And, when they were able to get him on Thursday night, you talk to people on Friday, and they were happy about it. And they should be, because I think a weapon like that works with anyone. If they keep Jesse Bates, great, because now you got this other guy who's long and rangy and can make plays and can move around and blitz off the edge and do all of these different things from the jump. So I think he's going to contribute right away. I know some thought of him as a special teamer. All right, is he going to be a special teamer? The answer, I would say, is no. And Zach Taylor talked about that on Thursday night. He's like, look, he's our first-round pick for a reason. And this dude should have went off the board earlier. He really should have. And I know everyone's praising the Ravens, and they deserve praise because they got some great value in this draft. Obviously, they got my top player in Tyler Linderbaum, 25th overall. They also traded their number one receiver, for what it's worth, to get a second first-rounder. People just fail to mention that. That certainly helps. And then they were picking in the middle round, not the end of the round, also helps. But no, the fact that they got Kyle Hamilton, 14th overall, it's great value, right? Well, I'm going to drop a take on you. The Dax Hill value is at least the same. At least the same to me. Kyle Hamilton is what? The eighth best player in this draft? He's not better than either of those corners to me, right? Are you taking him over Aiden Hutchinson? I don't know. I don't know about that, right? So let's just say he's 8th in this draft and he went 14th. I think Dax Hill is 15th, 18th. Let's say he's 20th even. Well, they got him at 31. So I think the value is at least the same. And that, to me, deserves a ton of praise. A+ for the Dax Hill pick. And honestly, I like Cam Taylor-Britt, and I mocked him to the Bengals in the What I Would Do mock on Locked On Bengals. The reason I did that is because Cam Taylor-Britt is very close to these other guys to me, very close to the Kyler Gordons, Andrew Booth Jr.'s. And not that those guys aren't higher level prospects, and hell, they were supposed to be considered in the first round. They both fell to the second round. But I knew what was going to happen. Whatever corner they got, if they missed out on Kyer Elam, you miss out on, Trent McDuffie if he was there, guys like that, well, they're going to be the fourth corner anyway and have to battle Eli Apple and potentially be that fourth guy and not necessarily a plug-and-play starter. And so if you could do that with the 31st pick, why not just do that with the 63rd pick? And it turns out they wanted to move up a little bit to secure their guy. No problem with that. Cam Taylor-Britt, I'm going to give this pick a B+ in that range, and probably a B+ because they go hand in hand. The Bengals, we knew the Bengals wanted a corner. And the other thing that's tied to that is, well, they passed on one in 31, and they didn't reach for the need. And I think a couple examples of them doing that in the past, Dre Kirkpatrick in the 2012 draft, I think they needed a corner, and they take him 17th overall. And I bet you they looked at that and they're like, well, we needed a corner. Let's just take the best one. I hate that. No, I hate that. That's how you draft the wrong player, right? And that's how you get it wrong. And Dre, yeah, he signed a second contract, and I think he was a fine player. I don't think he was the 17th pick. I don't think that was good value. And you want to avoid that. Darqueze Dennard, similar to me, and I believe he was 24th overall a few years later. But the point is they were able to get a comparable player to me, and they got him in round 2 while also getting this ace, this quality, this high-end player that can do a bunch of stuff in Dax Hill in round 1. So they were able to accomplish two different things, and I like the blend of size, speed that Cam Taylor-Britt brings. So I'm gonna give that a B+. Plus, if you missed B++, I like that. If you missed it, we posted his conference call audio on Friday night, and this dude, he goes by Juice. He's got the juice, baby. You got to check out that conference call. I've never been on a conference call that woke me up more than Cam Taylor-Britt and the energy he brought to that one. Round 3, this one was underwhelming to some. Zachary Carter out of the University of Florida. Defensive end, going to play 3-tech, going to be a defensive tackle for the Bengals. And they clearly were looking for a guy that could play 3-tech, 5-tech, be this versatile piece. And versatility is certainly a theme in this draft. I like the player. I question the value. And that's the thing is in this draft, and we've talked about it, there weren't many interior linemen that you look like, oh, well, that's going to fill Larry Ogunjobi's role. And I think that's what they wanted. They wanted a guy who could be a 3-tech and help in the pass game, and get pressure on opposing quarterbacks, which Carter can do. He had 8 sacks last year and was, a really quality player for the Gators. At the same time, they wanted that positional flexibility where you can move guys around. And so that's why I think they went with him over a guy like Perrion Winfrey, who's, to me, strictly a 3-tech, who's going to get pressure but going to struggle in the run game, doesn't really project well in the run game. So they might have reached a little bit on this one to fill that need. Again, I like the player. It just felt like it was a little early. So I'm going to give it a C- because it's slightly below average. Not really a knock on Carter as much as it is the value in the draft, right? Like, I think he's fine. I think it'd be great to have him on your team, but he's probably drafted a round earlier than you'd want. And would he be there in round 5 or round 4, excuse me? Probably not. And so that's why the Bengals took him, I would say. And so they go with 3 straight defensive picks. I'm going to give Dax Hill an A++, Taylor-Britt a B+, and then a C- from my guy Zachary Carter. Cordell Volson, pick 136 in round 4. Offensive tackle, will be a guard in the NFL out of North Dakota State. Look, you play in the FCS and you're making the jump to the NFL. That's scary. At the same time, if you look at his athletic scores and plug him into that offensive guard position, he's pretty decent. He's a pretty good athlete. Not insane. It doesn't jump off the page, but it's an above-average athlete, above-average profile. And then you look at it, he's 23, and he's an older player. He's someone that has the experience, certainly has the mentality that you want. Frank Pollock hammered that home in his post-drafting Cordell Volson, his news conference, which you can watch right here on YouTube on Cincinnati Bengals Talk. Man, it's much like the Zachary Carter pick. Like, I like the player, and it fills a need because they needed to get an offensive lineman. I think it could work out. It's not like he's coming from, an FCS school, but he's big, man. I mean, 6'6", 315, 320. So I think he can contribute, and I think he's going to be in the mix for the left guard spot because he's a mature adult. At the same time, it felt a little early based on what the consensus was. And yet Brian Callahan was like, look, based on who we talked to across the league, he wasn't going to be available much longer. And, you have intel for a reason. You talk to people across the league for a reason. I believe Eric Galko said the same thing of Optimum Scouting, who runs the East-West Shrine Bowl, which is something that Volson participated in and was an outstanding player there. So we'll see. But overall, the Cordell Volson, I understand the need. I understand addressing it. At the same time, felt a little early. It's going to be a solid C because I don't think it is as bad of a reach necessarily as Carter, especially because the guys I was talking about, the Jemery Sawyer, fell far. He fell far. And that was the guy I was kind of honing in on. And there were other guys, and they ended up falling to around 6 and 7. And so there's medicals and stuff like that that maybe those guys had or red flags that we just don't know about. But a guy like Cordell Volson certainly looks like someone who could end up panning out. And we'll see. We'll see if the Bengals just went with character here and not talent, but he seems pretty talented. And so we'll see what he can do at the next level. I'm going to give that a C. Tycen Anderson, the safety out of Toledo, pick 166. They moved up again to get him. It felt redundant. Let's be honest. It felt a little redundant. At the same time, 4.36, really good shuttle, solid 3-cone, tested like an elite athlete, really good dude, team captain, all of those things, has all the intangibles, right? He was so excited to stay in Ohio. He's from Toledo, decided to stay home and go to play for the Rockets and, go to the University of Toledo. And, man, he's an impressive kid, and I think the Bengals got good value here, right? So as far as value picks go, I think Daxton Hill was a really good value. I think Cam Taylor-Britt's right where I expected him. And then their next 2 picks, Zachary Carter and Cordell Volson, they weren't necessarily good value. This pick was with Tycen Anderson. I like it a lot, and that's why I'm going to give it a B+, A- in that range, because to me, and we'll call it a B+. It's like a 91. It's borderline A-. You're almost there, but the redundancy is what costs, right, and hurts it a little bit. Overall, though, like the player, I think he's going to be a special teams ace right away, a backup to Von Bell, and ultimately I think he'll replace Von Bell in the team. In their minds, I think they still want to get a deal done with Jesse Bates, and then you could have Jesse Bates, Dax Hill, Tycen Anderson in 2023. I think they'll have them all this year with great depth, great speed, and I think they're going to play a bleep ton of 3 safety looks, baby. I think they might be rolling 3 safeties all the time. And then when there's, they're facing 4 wideouts, when you have to guard, these tight ends and slot receivers and stuff, I think Daxton Hill is going to be in there a ton. So those are, it's going to be fun to watch, these speedy guys. 4.36 for Anderson, 4.38 for Cam Taylor-Britt, and a 4.38 for Daxton Hill as well. And then the final pick, and this was an awesome pick to me, Jeffrey Gunter out of Coastal Carolina, 252. So late in the 7th round, they traded their 6th rounder. They traded their first 7th rounder. And so they wait, and they get a guy in Gunter who I think has a chance to make the team. And if you get that 252 overall, you feel pretty good about it. Elite athlete. This dude can move. Ran a 4.7 40-yard dash. Has the burst that you're looking for. Good in the explosion drills. Did 30 bench press reps at 225 pounds, which is just off the charts. He tested like a 97 in the 97th percentile among defensive ends. And so you put him on the edge and you let him rush the passer. I think that's where he could really thrive. Compete with Wyatt Hubert, I would say. 7th rounder last year, who I thought was good value as well. Compete with him for a potential spot on this 53-man roster. I look for that to be the case. Like it. Anytime you can get a guy that has a really high-end profile, was productive at Coastal Carolina, and he was. And I get it, smaller school, that was his only D1 offer. At the same time, was productive there, and was, the testing backed up the film. You get your hands on him if you're Marion Hobby, the Bengals defensive line coach, and you see what happens. So I like that pick a lot. I'm going to give that pick an A. So to wrap all together, Dax Hill, A. Taylor-Britt, B+, Zach Carter, C-, Cordell Volson, C, B+, for Tycen Anderson, and an A for Jeffrey Gunter. Overall, I will give the Bengals a B for their 2022 draft class. I like the class overall. They got more athletic. They got faster. There was obviously a focus on defense. The one knock from a positional standpoint, I don't know what they're going to do at left guard yet, and I'm going to have more on this, but I'll leave it there for now because this is about the guys they drafted. And so, yeah, that concerns me some. It does. At the same time, I like the players they got. And, Dax Hill is the star. He's going to be really good. He really is. I think he's awesome. I do. And the Bengals, they got a good one there, and I think they got some other guys that are cut from that same cloth as well. And so when you get that, and you get the athleticism, and you get the speed, and you get the right attitudes, I think that's a heck of a draft. So I like these guys. Can't wait to meet a lot of them. We'll have interviews with them when they're in town, whether it's a Cam Taylor-Britt, a Zachary, Carter, Cordell, Volson, Tycen, Anderson, Jeffrey Gunter. We're going to bring you all those. And like I said, make sure you check out our one-on-one with Dax Hill. This is the spot now. We've been dealing with COVID rules and all that stuff. Well, now we're going to be able to get some exclusive stuff that we've already gotten some exclusive stuff, of course, but more is coming and a lot more. That dam is about to break here for the 2022 season and the defending AFC champions. And so this is the number one spot on YouTube that you need to come. So tell all your friends about Cincinnati Bengals talk. And we're talking all things Bengals all the time. So hit that subscribe button. Check out allbengals.com if you're looking to read about the Bengals. Check out the Locked On Bengals podcast. And, I look forward to talking with you guys about all of the storylines and outcomes, starting with that left guard spot. We'll focus on that here pretty soon. But the Bengals get a B for the 2022 NFL Draft. What grade would you give them? And I'm sure you disagree with some of my grades. Which ones do you disagree with? Which ones do you agree with? Leave a comment. Hit that like button. And until next time, for our channel coordinator, Andrew Fox Miller, shout out to Andrew for killing it during the NFL Draft. I'm James Rapien, signing off for now, right here on CBT, Cincinnati Bengals